Hey guys, I'm Rashi Hamalio. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to review for you Estee Lauder Double Wear that a few of you have actually asked for. I have the shade Cashew that I bought this foundation last year. Now this shade is a little bit too warm for me. It's not a perfect match. I actually also picked up two other shades to try and see if I can get a better match for me. So this is the shade Cashew. So it's a pretty good match, but it's definitely just a little tiny bit too warm for me. Okay, so right next to that, this is Tawny in 3W1 and definitely way too light. So that's not a match for me for sure. Okay, next up is 1.5, which is Fawn. And I'm just going to swatch this here. This one is not too bad. So it is still a little bit light, but the undertone in Fawn is much better. I don't know if you can see that. It kind of matches the undertone of my chest as opposed to Cashew, which if you look at it right next to my chest is a little bit too warm. So one of you actually recommended that I mix Fawn and Cashew together. So I'm going to do just that. Okay, so I've color corrected using MAC's Pep and Prime in the shade Peach Luster. So now at the back of my hand, I've just got Fawn and Cashew mixed together. And I'm just gonna go ahead and dot this on my face. Yeah, that looks like a better match for me than Cashew alone. Okay, now taking my Hourglass foundation brush, I am just going to smooth this out. So that there is a little bit less than medium coverage. And now the forehead, where I generally get dry patches. Now it didn't really cling to the dry patch on my forehead, so I do want to build this coverage just a little bit more. So I'm going to add in just more around my cheek area, particularly here where I have pigmentation from pimples. It builds easily. I'm able to add a second layer without it looking messy or cakey, which is fantastic. This is the type of coverage that I'm happy with. You can build more because you can go full coverage with this foundation, but I'm actually very happy with this and I'm going to leave it the way it is. I have dimmed my light so you can kind of see this foundation a little bit more clearly. This is what it looks like. So just looking at my forehead, it actually looks really good. It hasn't really clung to the dry patch on my forehead, which is fantastic. Hey guys, so this is the finished look. Now I'm just gonna come in a little bit closer. And this is what the foundation looks like. It looks really, really beautiful. Yes. So, I am going to do a wear test with this foundation. And I have to say, Carol, if you're watching this video, thank you for telling me to mix Fawn and Cashew together, because I think this color match is really, really good for me. Cashew was a little bit too warm, but mixing the two together, I think the color looks great. So thanks, Carol, for that excellent tip. So application with the Estee Lauder foundation is really smooth. I don't struggle to blend this out. I can use a beauty blender, I can use a synthetic foundation brush. Really, any method of application works. I wouldn't recommend using this with your fingers. It does need to be worked into the skin, and it has a beautiful, smooth finish. So as you can see on my skin, it actually makes my skin look really, really smooth. And I love that. It also has excellent coverage. I do prefer to wear this up to a medium coverage, like most of my foundations, but you can go full coverage with this. I love that you can layer this and build on this and it doesn't look cakey. It doesn't look heavy on the skin. It actually looks really perfected. It also sets, so after you've applied this, give it maybe 5 minutes max and this would set. It doesn't look too oily. All I had to do was powder my forehead and my cheeks. This is where I tend to get some oil, but if you're someone who doesn't have oily skin, I don't believe you even need to powder this because it definitely sets and looks great. Now, in terms of the ingredient list, I didn't really see anything bad. I definitely didn't see any fragrance, so I do think this is fragrance free, which is really amazing. It also doesn't have any alcohol, which is amazing. This is not a foundation that gives me any irritation or anything like that. I am very happy about that. Now, the only downside, and honestly, this is the only downside to this foundation, is that it can break me out. So not all the time, but there are times where if I worn this for a few days in a row and it's broken me out, it's given me some pimples. It doesn't happen every single time, but it does happen time to time. So this is a foundation that I generally don't wear every single day, for example. I wear this foundation when I really want my base to look almost flawless. I'm gonna say almost flawless because I don't particularly like the word flawless. So I'm gonna say almost flawless. That's when I use this. If I wanna go for any events, anything like that, if I've got an event coming up and I really want my foundation to look perfected, I use this. If I'm going to be traveling, I'm going to be on the road for a long time and I really want a foundation that's not gonna budge, I use this. I remember I used to go to clubbing in this because it's kind of sweat proof. You can sweat in this and it's not going to budge. I love that. Of course, now that we're in the COVID world, we're probably not going to go clubbing anytime soon. So, you know, that's probably not relevant. But if you're in a hot, humid environment and you're sweating, this will stay put. And I have worn this in hot climates and I was pretty impressed. And I'm going to show you now what this foundation looks like on me after a wear test. Hey guys, it's been 10 hours. Wow, 10 hours. I managed to stick it out. So this is what the foundation looks like after 10 hours. Now, all of this shine here that's on my forehead right here and across here is actually the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter in Magic Star. So that is not oil, it's not greasiness. So all of this part here that you're seeing, all of this shine, this intense shine, it's from this highlighter. So it's not oil. The only areas that are oily for me are definitely the middle of my forehead here and then my cheeks right here. I don't get any oiliness here. I generally only get it right here. Now, I didn't block my face at all in these 10 hours. I only powdered my face right at the beginning when I was done with my makeup. I did not powder in between. So I have to say this foundation looks amazing for a 10-hour wear test where I haven't even blotted and I haven't even used any powder. Now let me go ahead, just blot this now. So I'm just gonna blot my oily areas. And now the foundation looks really intact. And even the makeup I've applied on top, all of it is really intact. The blush has faded a bit, but I just want to give a shout out to the Ilia bronzer. It's been 10 hours and this bronzer is still on and it looks amazing. Then of course the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter. Wow, this thing has not faded, not even one bit. I've done a video on this, you want to check it out, I'll link it at the top. So back to the foundation, I have dimmed my lights and coming up close, this is what the foundation looks like. It looks amazing. By the way, check out my concealer. Concealer is just good old Shape Tape. That's what I've used today, and 10 hours, my concealer hasn't really budged at all. It hasn't even creased. Of course, with any concealer, if you talk a lot or you laugh a lot, it will crease on you, and Shape Tape does in that case as well, but it's always very minimal. Now back to Estee Lauder foundation. It looks amazing. After 10 hours, my makeup is intact. It hasn't faded. It hasn't even oxidized. I would say my skin naturally looks a little bit darker because of my natural oils have come forward, but the foundation itself really hasn't oxidized. In my opinion, it looks still very good. The oil that came through was really minimal. If I had blotted through the day, I think I would have just looked perfect. So this is an amazing foundation. The only caveat is that it can break some people out. Now, it's not just me. I have heard from other people that this can break them out. So a word of caution there, if you are acne prone, I would probably avoid this foundation, or at least get a sample and try it out before you buy it. And lastly, thank you, Carol, for giving me the tip to mix Fawn and Cashew together, because really I feel like that is the perfect combination, and I'm very happy with that shade. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Night.